Everybody say hi to Kyle Higgins.
Kyle.
Hey, how are ya?
How's it going?
Doing well.
Last one, you got 7 years.
All right, Kyle. We got
Hit me.
a few audio recording. Audio team ready?
Yeah, audio ready.
All right, audio's ready. For the audio recordings, please state your name, your title, and some of your recent projects and activities you're working on.
Sure, down the lens.
Well, audio's here, but yeah, you can you look to the video here.
Sure. Hey, I'm Kyle Higgins. I am the founder and creative director. Sorry, let me try that again. Hey, I'm Kyle Higgins. I am the founder and creative director of Black Market Narrative. We are a creative collective studio. I'm primarily a comic book writer. I've written for Marvel and DC for many years. Now I run my own creator-owned superhero universe at Image Comics called the Massiveverse, made up of titles like Radiant Black, Inferno Girl Red, No One, The Dead Lucky, Rogue Sun. We really pride ourselves on taking big swings and pushing the boundaries of what you can do in comic books and sequential storytelling. We like to play with a lot of mixed mediums. In things like Radiant Black, we've done everything from issues that take place inside of black holes, printed exclusively with fluorescent Pantone ink, so the whole book is a blacklight comic, to secret animated short films accessible as a surprise through QR codes in the comic book itself. In No One right now, it is a true crime superhero series that follows a digital hacktivist in Pittsburgh who doxes some very corrupt people, and nothing happens, so someone else in the city starts killing them, sparking an accountability killing movement in the city. 2 of the characters in the book are reporters that are talked into starting a podcast by their failing newspaper's new media division. So we made that podcast as a scripted audio series for every issue, with Rachel Lee Cook and Patton Oswalt voicing the reporters. All of the newspaper articles in the story, we actually made those for real. I hired a crime reporter from CNN and the Chicago Tribune named Peter Nikias to consult and work with us on all of this. The website where No One doxes these corrupt people, we've made that as well. You can access it through a terminal command prompt that if you listen to the audio series you will learn. There are Unreal Engine videos that we have done, and at the end of it all we announced at San Diego Comic-Con by dropping a live action trailer that the story is continuing in a feature film that I'm directing. It's being produced by myself and Brian Buccellato, who co-writes everything on No One with me, and as well as Steven Schneider from Paranormal Activity, Insidious, Late Night with the Devil. He's very renowned for his innovation in the found footage space. This film is a true crime superhero documentary. It is adapting the events of the comic and the audio series, as well as continuing the story. So the entire thing is a big multi-narrative. So when Bear McCreary came to me and pitched me the idea of building a narrative for his new heavy metal concept album, it was incredibly exciting and the fastest yes I've ever said. Bear and I go way back. Bear's one of my best friends for the last 15 years. We've worked on so many projects together over the years. He's been generous enough to score different short films of mine, some of the other immersive things we've done in the Massiveverse. One of his proteges, Sam Ewing, who is the co-composer of The Walking Dead in the final seasons. Sam actually scored the first 6 issues of Radiant Black, so doing an original score for a comic book. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on, I really pride myself on as a creator, is taking full advantage of a concept and playing to the strengths of the medium that I'm working in. So with something like the Singularity, the idea of creating a narrative to coincide with, or to go along with the track order on this very, very ambitious concept album was just a really fantastic, exciting challenge. I called in Mat Groom, who is a writer I work with quite a bit in the Massiveverse. We also co-write Ultraman together at Marvel and some other projects at Marvel and DC that haven't been announced yet. And pitched him the same idea. He listened to the album and came back with a fully formed take for a story about the death of a multiverse. This then turned into a story of reincarnation and exploring, honestly, aspects of the human condition and the ideas of loss and how to move forward as entropy is consuming everything. We then actually cast the story with 15 different artists, all depicting different lives that the main character is reincarnating through. And again, each chapter, each life correlates to a track on the album. So the album is its own thing, and an amazing listening experience. The comic is its own thing, an amazing reading experience, but they also go together in a really immersive way. So if you want to take that journey with both of them, I would argue it's very unlike any immersive storytelling that has been done before.
Thank you.
That was a great overview. Hit a lot of my questions. So
let's dig deeper.
As the creative director,
Yeah.
so is your role really to just coordinate all of the different artists and like recruit them and coordinate them, or like what was your day-to-day role on the project?
I mean, it's everything from finding the right artist pairing for to help capture and evoke the right tone for each chapter.
Yep.
It's also it's art directing. It's giving notes on the story. It's helping Matt build the narrative. It's speaking with Bear about different ideas and different notes. You know what it is? Honestly, the job is one of taste. So as a creative director, I'm the one overseeing the totality of the project, aesthetically, visually, narratively. And I've been doing comics full time for over a decade at this point, 13, 14, maybe 15 years now. So I know a lot of artists. I've worked with a lot of artists, and so I opened up my Rolodex to reach out to everyone I thought was a good fit, and then also finding the right colorist to best accentuate what that artist does, and again, trying to capture the right tone and spirit for each chapter. And then it also involves liaising with Image Comics. So I brought the project to Image, where I do most of our books at Black Market Narrative, pitched it properly to Eric Stevenson, the publisher, and then coordinated how exactly we were going to put this all together, bring it to market, and ultimately roll it out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
A lot of responsibility, kind of overall, just project manager / art responsible for all that.
And I should also I also want to call out Michael Basudel, who is the editor and designer on the title. Michael's my right hand at Black Market Narrative, so Michael really coordinated the day-to-day and the scheduling, as well as even just down to the template for all the artists to work from. 15 different artists. If you're not careful, you're getting pages back in all sorts of weird random sizes that suddenly makes, it might not sound like a big deal, but across 130 story pages, that can be a big challenge to make work if you're not planning for it up front, Okay.
Awesome.
Where do you find your inspiration? What inspires you? When you have this kind of narrative idea and influences, where does that come from for you personally?
Well, I have made things my entire life in one way or another. And I think I like to joke that, and it's not really a joke, the best part of making comics is collaborating. But my favorite part is collaborating with my friends. So I come from a writing and directing background in live action, and as a director, your job is to get the best out of the people around you and help facilitate them to do their best work, and ultimately the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So what inspires me is trying to do things that haven't been done before, and like I said up top, finding ways to play to the strengths of the medium and push the boundaries of the medium that we're working in. That's all there is to it. I just want to do really cool shit with really cool people and do things that no one has thought to try before.
That's my title right there. Really cool shit with really cool people.
I love it. I love it. I'll look for that headline.
I'm definitely intrigued about I believe it might have been San Diego Comic-Con
Yeah.
news here, but the Marvel and Ultraman collaboration, how did that come about? And like, it's obviously the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
and it's very unprecedented as well too.
I guess I'm done.
You speak a little bit about that, and then I'll let you.
You have to beg Gary. So I wrote Power Rangers for 3 years. I built out that line for Boom Studios, the creative, for the first 3 years, and wrote the first 30 issues. After that, and falling in love with Tokusatsu, really being introduced to it properly by Mat Groom and Michael Basuto, Marvel reached out to me because I've worked there over the years, asking if I would want to come in and build out Ultraman. I asked to do it with Matt. That has turned into the last 5 years, and it also is what sparked the Massiveverse, our creator-owned superhero universe at Image Comics. I'm going to give this to you guys. It's more about us, Black Market Narrative, Massiveverse. If you're around tonight by chance, we're doing a big Massiveverse meetup at Barcade at 8:30 in Chelsea.
Okay.
It'll be all of our creators, and a lot of the artists from the Singularity will be there as well.
I give you
must be a part of it.
Well, one of the things that I really pride myself on as a creator is taking full advantage of the medium, whether it's the medium of comic books or the medium of live action or animation, playing to the strengths of that medium and finding a way with a concept to explore it, again, to take full advantage of its potential, thematically, emotionally, just creatively in general. So a lot of the things that we do on the other books that I run branch into kind of multimedia storytelling, multi-narratives. So like in Radiant Black, we do secret animated short films that are through QR codes. The series No One that we do is a true crime superhero series that has an in-universe scripted audio series with Rachel Lee Cook and Patton Oswalt voicing reporters in the book that are making the podcast, chronicling their investigation into this digital hacktivist called No One, who's kind of like our Batman, and this accountability killing movement in the city of Pittsburgh. And the story goes back and forth between the comic and the audio series, as well as in-universe websites, newspaper articles, and we just announced we're making a feature film that's a documentary that adapts the comic and audio series as well as continues the story. So that's a long walk to the fact that when Bear called me 4 years ago at this point, maybe 5, and said, hey, remember that concept album I told you about? I really want to build a story for it, and I want to do it as a graphic novel. I mean, immediately it was A, an easy yes, and B, incredibly exciting. So I called Mat Groom, who is one of the writers I work with the most at Black Market Narrative, which is our creative collective studio. And on our Massiveverse books, Matt and I also co-write Ultraman at Marvel Comics, as well as some stuff at Marvel and DC coming up. And I told Matt the brief and said, why don't you listen to the album and let me know if you have any thoughts? And Matt called back and said, I think I do. And basically pitched out what became the Singularity, which is a story about the death of a multiverse where each chapter and reincarnation life is mapped to a different track on the album. So it gives a story to the track order of the album itself. We actually then cast 15 different artists, all to draw different chapters and different lives that the main characters are reincarnating through. And again, it's so immersive in the way that it also has this musical, I don't even want to say accompaniment, because the album is obviously incredible on its own. The graphic novel is incredible on its own, but together they are greater than the sum of their parts, and they create this, again, this kind of almost multi-narrative storytelling experience.
You don't think? Well, that's not. So you talk about this being a multimedia project. There's the album, there's the companion graphic novel. So, given that the novel, the album has a specific sound. So how does that translate to the visual aspect of it? You know, are there any specific techniques or ideas that you brought in that you think reflect the sounds of the album?
Yes, that's a great question. So I grew up a musician. I played the trumpet until I was about 25 years old, classical and jazz. I'm a huge rock nerd. I like heavy metal. Like, I'm kind of across a lot of different genres of music. And as I've been talking about a second ago, like immersion is really big for us. So listening to each track and trying to capture the feel of that specific song, both narratively but also aesthetically, that was part of one of the most fun aspects of this project. So, for example, tracks like I believe it's Incinerator have such a hard edge to them. It was immediately I went to Marco Lucati, who is the artist that does Moon Man with us currently with Kid Cudi. It's our big sci-fi superhero book that has a bit of grit to it, a bit of slight cyberpunk to it, and so he bringing that style to that song felt like this really interesting marriage, right? In other instances, the artist pairing goes counter to what the tone of the music is because we're trying to capture that counterpoint or that juxtaposition, that contrast, you know. Ramón Pérez then has the main spine of the book, which is about first life, and then different, I think it's second life and third life, I think those are the other tracks, but it's the heart and soul of the entire story. Ramón is an Eisner Award-winning cartoonist. Everything he draws has so much specificity and emotionality to it. He's really, really great at capturing the human condition in an illustrated form. And so again, it was like absolutely perfect fit to try to capture the life essence and story of this life that the main character is trying to return to through these reincarnation cycles that he's not able to get back to, and ultimately needing to realize and learn that he has to let go, just like so many of us do. And so again, kind of just, it's kind of the perfect pairing of subject matter and style.
So Bear called you early on, several years ago. Did you work with him on articulating the story while he was creating the album? Okay, so how was that like?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, Bear's been one of my best friends for about 15 years at this point. So we have collaborated numerous times over the years. He has scored different projects of mine. Short films that I've directed. Some of his other collaborators have worked with us on Radiant Black. Sam Ewing, who co-composes The Walking Dead with Bear, and has worked with Bear on different projects over the years. Sam scored the first 6 chapters of Radiant Black, like we're doing an original film score for the book itself. We just trust each other implicitly, and we have very similar creative, not only instincts, but influences. So it's very easy to talk about, like, what are you looking for? What kind of story do you want to tell? How would you go about building this out? What are you trying to capture? And so, yeah, like I said, Bear, most of the album was done, and so Matt came in and created the core narrative of this project, and then that actually influenced some new tracks on the album. It created, I don't want to say the need for, but it necessitated and inspired doing monologues on the album, which then Bear went out and got Ryan Hurst and I don't remember who the other, Lee Pace, some just amazing actors that he's worked with over the years in some of his different projects. Those monologues are line for line from the comic book itself. So at a certain point, the album inspired the story in the comic, but then the story in the comic inspired how the album grew. And it also then inspired how, in some instances, how the track order then changed to better marry with the story that we were building. And in other cases, we adjusted the story to better marry with, sometimes the preferred progression of tracks on the album itself. So it really is this kind of, it's this kind of, I don't know, it's a very organic intermingling of disciplines.
So you said you've been a musician.
Yeah.
So I love multimedia projects. Like mixed multimedia is so fascinating to me. So like, you know, bringing a story into the music, like what was the most challenging aspect of kind of like marrying those two together? Like what did you find was most rewarding or challenging for it?
I think it's what we were talking about a few minutes ago, where it's how do you find the right artistic interpretation and style, aesthetic interpretation of the music itself. Like, what aspect of the song are you trying to interpret and capture? Sometimes it's an unexpected component of it. Sometimes it's the tone, and it's the feel and the vibe and the intensity. That's easy. Other times it can be lyrically inspired, and so you might, like I was saying before, you might be marrying an aesthetic style that seems counterintuitive to the tone and the vibe of the song, but because of the lyrical implications, it actually matches better, you know? So it's really a matter of taste, and that's always the hardest part. It's subjective, but it's ultimately what we all love about the creative process and why we do this, and hopefully we are hired for it when we take jobs and things like that, because we are the filter that is making decisions and everything is going through as you're curating and determining or creating what the ultimate kind of storytelling experience is going to be.
What was unique or challenging about this project compared to other multimedia storytelling projects you've worked on?
I think it's probably because it's so unique to anything that we've done before. And really, I can't think of another instance of a creator working in different disciplines to such the degree and extent that we have done here. Oftentimes you've seen musicians try to make a comic book or a novel or other things. Like, you have to know where your limitations are as an artist. I really do believe that. And just because you're really great at one thing doesn't mean you're going to be great in a different discipline. So to be able to recognize that and find the people that are really good in that other discipline and find a way to collaborate, I mean, that's what's so much fun about building something together. You know, like I said, I love music. I'm a huge music nerd. I grew up a musician. I don't write music. And I don't pretend to understand or know the nuances of that discipline, right? Bear loves comic books. Bear is a narrative storyteller. Bear's never written a comic book before, you know? And so it is this kind of no-ego approach to how do we trust each other and build these things collaboratively together so that the sum is greater than, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But again, no one's done this before, right? And so I think we really like to, when we do something, we're all in. We like to say, like, at my little creative collective studio, we commit to the bit. And in this instance, to do this the right way meant top-tier creators, a top-tier publisher, and thinking outside the box and being really flexible and able to adapt in order to, again, make both of these different stories, because the album is a story into itself, work together.
What are you most excited about with this project, like for people to really dig into?
I think it's the immersion. I think that you can listen to the album entirely on its own and have a fantastic experience. You can read the graphic novel entirely on its own and have a fantastic experience. But when you bring the two together, if you're willing to take that journey, I think it's a very unique experience. And that doesn't necessarily mean listening to the album while you read the book, although you can. I just think, I think what I'm most excited about is that it's unpredictable what type of reaction and takeaway that listeners and readers are going to have when they actually embark on this journey of both disciplines. It's subjective, and I love that. For me, art is not about the finished product. It's about the reaction it elicits in the people that are consuming it and experiencing it. It's a symbiotic relationship between creator and reader or viewer. And I think in this case, how unpredictable that relationship is going to be is really exciting. Music evokes and elicits such different reactions from such different people, or from every person. And I think it is that unpredictability that is most exciting for me.
So works like this often have many sources of inspiration. Obviously,
What has many sources?
Works like this often have many sources of inspiration. So I'm curious, what were some perhaps unusual sources of inspiration for yourself? Whether it's other art, even other music, or the view outside your front door, etc.
Well, that's a great question. I think it's. Everything from video games to poetry. That's a good question. Different points of inspiration. I think what probably would be the most unexpected would be physics. The story of the Singularity. The Singularity is, it comes from interstellar cosmology, and it's a point of kind of like infinite density. And when a black hole collapses on itself, it creates this incredibly dense. I don't even know if you would call it a sphere, just this like kind of point in warping in gravitational space. What we're exploring in the story is looking at the collapse of a multiverse. We actually personify the very idea of entropy, which is this kind of like fundamental force in the universe. The heat decay death of reality. We personify that as the villain. And so how do you do that? What does that look like? And how do you keep, just to take something as literal and science-based as universal forces and gravity and black holes, and then find the interpretation on that artistically and creatively is like, it's pretty fun, but very different. I think I'm done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.